Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back. Kellen here with Droid Life. So I just got back from Motorola and Verizon's Droid event here in New York City and came away with two phones, as you can see here. So I actually have the DROID Turbo 2 here, and then this is the DROID Maxx 2. So the two new phones, Turbo obviously is the flagship of the two, and so we'll probably spend the most time with that, but the DROID Maxx 2 obviously shouldn't be overlooked either. It's sort of a more affordable package, but you still get some premium specs. With the Turbo though, you do get Moto Maker, so you can custom make one. You can do a design refresh depending on the option you choose. It also has a shatterproof display, so we'll talk a bunch more about all of that stuff later, but right now we just kind of want to unbox them, give you guys a first impression, and that sort of thing. So I'm going to slide the Maxx 2 over here. We're going to start with the Turbo. It's pretty standard Droid packaging, although this one does say for Droid Life, which is kind of nice. So anyway, we're gonna slide box off, and these Droid boxes are always the toughest to maneuver. Seriously, come on now, phone. I don't want to cut it off. Who would have thought that an unboxing Droid phone would take there we go, throw that thing away. Okay, so it does say DROID Turbo 2 there as well. Verizon, Motorola. Motorola obviously still has the exclusive on Droid phones for the time being. So not only is the sleeve hard to get off, the box doesn't want to open either. I mean, if this thing falls out, it should be fine, right? It's shatterproof. Wow. Okay. There, that was a little frustrating. All right, so here is the phone, and it looks like they tossed me a white version. So I'm actually gonna set that down for a second. So in the box, it's a pretty big box actually. Inside the box, and it's big because they do give you one of their turbo power chargers. So fast charging in here, obviously. It's not USB Type-C, it's just regular micro USB. So quite the box there for all you get is a charger, some guides. All right, so here is the phone. So white version, if we just kind of run through specs after we take plastic off. So if we run through specs, you are looking at a Snapdragon 810 processor, 32 or 64 gig storage options. And if you go with the 64 gig, that's where you do Moto Maker, and then also where you get the design refresh. So once in 2 years, you can actually refresh the design and basically get a new phone. So it also has a 2 terabyte micro SD slot, which is up here in the SIM tray. It has a 3760 milliamp hour battery, so it has a huge battery that Motorola claims will last up to 2 days. Does have a 21 megapixel camera here on the back. I believe it's the same one that's in the Moto X Pure Edition. It has a 5 megapixel shooter on the front, and you also get that front flash that we saw on the Moto X Pure Edition. It's got a 5.4 inch Quad HD plastic AMOLED display, and it's Motorola's Shatter Shield, which is basically like a 5-layer design that they think is resistant to drops, and they think you should be able to drop it and it shouldn't break. They're basically guaranteeing it. So up to 4 years actually. So you can drop it and drop it and drop it. And they're not talking about like whacking it on things. They're talking about pulling it out of your pocket, dropping it when you get out of your car, things like that. So they say it's gonna be shatterproof, and we'll sort of see. It runs Android 5.1 Lollipop, and it says it will be upgraded to Android 6.0 Marshmallow. So Motorola's obviously taken some heat in the last couple of weeks for their, oh, here's the Droid boot animation, sorry. No more Droid voice. Anyways, Motorola's obviously taken some heat in the last couple of weeks for their handling of 6.0 Marshmallow updates for a number of their phones. So this one will get it, even though it's shipping with 5.1. So that's pretty much it in terms of specs. Now, Moto Maker is going to be a big deal. There's ballistic nylon is coming back, leather is going to be an option, and then this is that soft touch plastic, which I actually prefer for the most part, although I'm excited to get my hands on the ballistic nylon because it was really awesome last year. Looking forward to it again. Do have a Motorola dimple, no fingerprint sensor anywhere on here. But other than that, you're looking at the new flagship Droid. So I'm not going to go through the setup process, but you can see the front here. So display, again, plastic AMOLED, should be shatterproof. Does have a giant chin though. I mean, this is one of the bigger chins I've seen on a phone in a while. These are also some of the first new Droid flagships that use on-screen buttons. case you were noticing that, but holy chin, it looks like a speaker split there. You do have those IR sensors, so you can do waves over and stuff like that for Moto Display. And a giant Verizon check right there, because I'm sure you were all asking for that. So we'll obviously have more here with the Turbo 2 shortly, make it our phone of choice, probably once we get done with Nexus phones. But that's the DROID Turbo 2. So with that in mind, let's pull out the Maxx 2. So DROID Maxx 2, obviously the more affordable of the two, and easier to open apparently. So I should probably be a little more careful getting this one out because it is not shatterproof. Equally as tough to open though. And of course, that's the one I dropped. So anyways, this also should come with a turbocharger, I believe. And sure enough, it does come with one. So fast charging here as well. Boxes everywhere. So this one didn't shatter, but I did drop it. So it looks like a white model here as well. And again, these are review units. I don't know if I mentioned that yet. These are review units. So Moto Maxx 2. It's sort of like the Moto X Play. Actually, it's identical to the Moto X Play. And the specs are Android 5.1 will be upgraded to 6.0 Marshmallow. This one has a 5.5 inch full HD display, so it's not quad HD, it's 1080p. You have a 21 megapixel camera on the back. I'm not actually sure that it's the same as the one in the Turbo 2 and Moto X Pure Edition, but it still should be a decent camera. There's your dimple there. You do have a front camera. It's 5 megapixel. You don't have the flash that you probably wouldn't use anyway. 16 gig of internal storage, up to 128 gig SD card support, which is going to be up top as well in the SIM tray. So let's see, battery, 3630 milliamp hour battery here in this phone. So not quite as big as the Turbo 2, but with that 1080p display, it might be easier to sort of power that. So not as many pixels to push. It does have a Snapdragon 615 processor though, so it's still octa-core, not exactly as powerful as the Snapdragon 810. So this one doesn't have Moto Maker, but it does have swappable back covers, so if you want to customize it, you can still do that just by buying additional back covers. So I'm not gonna lie, just first impression of each in hand, if I can get this thing back on here. Wow, first impression of each in hand, this Moto Maxx actually feels better in hand, if I'm being brutally honest here. Similar phones, right? Similar soft texture, similar size, although the Turbo 2, even though its display is technically slightly smaller, is a bigger phone. And that's probably because of all of that protection they had to add on to make it shatterproof. Didn't mention this, but both micro USB, not USB Type-C. DROID branding. But anyways, the Moto Maxx actually feels a little bit better in hand. It just sort of has a nice curve to it. It feels a little bit smaller. Well, it is a little bit smaller, but it just kind of feels a little more like the Moto X Pure Edition or the Moto X Play. So it has a nice feel to it. This one just feels a little bit wider, the Turbo 2. Slightly wider. Still nice. Just first thing I'm noticing, and obviously these are settings I need to tweak, but the displays look completely different. So that's a white background. And I know this is tough to pick up on camera, but the DROID Turbo 2 just looks a little yellow. And we got a little clearer white over here with the Moto X, I'm sorry, the DROID Maxx 2. So anyways, we will test both of these, obviously put them through battery test, performance test, camera test, all that stuff like we always do. This was just a quick unboxing. So if you guys have comments, questions, or want to know anything specific about each, we can certainly go through that. Otherwise, we are DROID Life. Peace.